Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in or joining our session today, where we'll discuss about a case study for a public transport agency in Australia and their enterprise architecture journey with HopX. We hope that this case study will be beneficial, as many often ask how can we start our A journey, how other organizations have done it successfully, how can we show the value to the managers, C-level executives, and so on. So in this study, we'll provide some tangible steps and benefits that this agency was able to provide with HopX, and they continue to do so as a BAU practice for more than 5 years now in their EA journey. A little bit about Mega first. Some of you may know it. Mega is a well-established and fast-growing EA SaaS software vendor. We've been around for almost 30 years now and have been Gartner leaders for 13 years in a row. The great thing here is that we also got the Peer Insights Award, which shows that we are an enterprise-grade EA provider, and at the same time, we really simplify adoption and customers like using our software. We are also leader in the EA Forrester Wave, as well as a clear technology leader in the Spark Matrix report. Mega has over 2,000 customers worldwide. That's more than 50 countries across public sector and private sector, across many industries, banking and insurance, manufacturing, telco, transport, government sector as well. So on this slide, you'll see just some of the big name customers that we have globally. Jumping straight into the topic now. The future-proof enterprise. So the pace of change, we know it's accelerating. Consider being change in working habits, the acceleration in cloud migration that is resulting from it. Consider employee turnover, which is at record highs. Even a change in consumer behavior, especially in a post-COVID world. Companies are hugely affected by this change, and a lot of tech companies have more difficulties in keeping pace with this change. As a future-proof enterprise, we see three main characteristics of those companies who succeed in this transformation and having a future-proof enterprise attribute. So they are agile companies, meaning they can adapt to the change quickly. They are lean, meaning they can adapt efficiently, but they're also resilient. Means they're able to absorb the shocks of sudden changes and avoiding operational risk. So the future-proof enterprise is the one that is able to plan and adapt to the change. Now, we all know that transformation is not a mere project. It's a journey. Organizations that don't go into transformation, they'll go out of business. If there is no solution also as HopX, as a central repository for keeping things connected together and showing how an organization can go from point A to point B, there'll be a lot of pressure on the IT to enable and support this transformation. So the EA programs, they support this transformation, noting that a traditional approach might not necessarily lead to the success, where a traditional way is always seen as a very long journey. They require a lot of manual work, and they produce limited value. As enterprise architects, they often need to explain to the CIO how the IT projects are able to bring value to the business. That's why what we adopt is a business outcome-driven EA approach to quickly get visibility on the company's portfolio of business and IT, identify where the business have to invest, work on what matters the most, mitigate the risk, understand the impact of a change, for instance, as well as to spend IT resources in an efficient way on the right things to stay competitive. So in this journey, we also know that this transformation doesn't work in silos. So it requires two major components. One is having this connected view. A strategic transformation is a change on the overall operating model of the organization. And a change to the operating model means involving new technologies. And the new technologies is not just an update, an upgrade of what's there, but it also impacts the business. It also involves new data. And by having new data in place means more and more regulations to be compliant with. And of course, all these changes, they always bring in some risks, new risks, which the company have to mitigate. So without this connected view, a transformation will always be very unsuccessful. A connected view requires also a connected organization. All this information, they don't come from one source, but it involves several departments to collaborate, to work together and produce these information or put together this information in a central repository to enable this transformation. So we see these two components of having a connected view and a connected organization as fundamental success factors for a successful transformation. Now, of course, all these comes with challenges. The challenges that we try to often address with HOPEX are a few of them mentioned here about the constant change in the business strategy, how to plan IT assets and a road mapping for those assets, as well as prioritization of the IT projects. So on the change and the constant evolution of the business strategy makes it difficult really for the IT to keep pace with that. So that's often a challenge we hear from many stakeholders. The second traditional challenge is always the keeping the lights on with all the BAU activities of an IT versus the planning ahead that happens with the day-to-day changes in the technology landscape. IT often doesn't know which capabilities are being planned, how they fit to the overall changing strategy, and how the IT will support these changes. And third, prioritization of IT projects. Often projects are chosen because of tactical needs, and what we want to always preach is having a clear assessment and evaluation done on the projects to ensure they're meeting the business objectives. So HOPEX as a single connected platform can help address those challenges and assist in that transformation journey with keeping the connected view in place both on the data as well as the organization level. HOPEX is a central repository that provides the full picture of business, IT, data, and risk perspective in one single repository. This helps accelerate the time to value and generates demonstrable ROI to the business. What we adopt and what we will talk about is an outcome-driven methodology. And this meaning that we want with the EA program to address use cases rather than going into a traditional librarian approach where we keep on documenting what we have in a tool and without necessarily having the end vision, the end picture in mind. Having a single connected platform, as mentioned, it allows collaboration as well. So HOPEX provides several profiles in its platform, which allows different users from different departments to feel at ease with the tool. It has a fully web interface where users can connect with their profile and perform their actions accordingly through the interface and with their profile. On top of that, the tool is totally scalable. You can customize the way you want, adding information in, attributes in, and making it as personalized as possible. So let's go to the case study that is done by the case study for an Australian public transport agency. So the first thing that was addressed and talking to the EA team, and as an EA practitioner for a long time, we always are asked the question, explain the value of the EA or explain the value of the EA, the benefits of the EA to a CIO in the lift. You have only 60 seconds to really say the right words and the right statement. And I remember being asked from my first EA mentor about that. And he was constantly challenging us to provide different answers, to keep to have different ways of viewing what the enterprise architecture can do to the organization. So I've created an umbrella statement here, aligning enterprise execution, the operating model by design, to the company strategy. I'm sure that everyone will have different statements. You can say a practice will rationalize the technology against capabilities. It will ensure that the business has the technological support it requires to succeed. Another organization might be designing new processes or optimizing the existing processes, and all this, all these fit into the description of what EA can do. Of course, some practices are there also where they spend time, as I mentioned, about in documentation, being just a librarian of existing information and documenting without having a use case in mind. So that we don't see really very practical, and it really doesn't fit what the EA is there to provide. So putting it differently, and as an EA, we want to continuously align the strategy and operations in very simple and lay terms. How HOPEX will help in that and how it helped the organization is by having that mindset first of not being a documentation tool, rather an operational tool. So this shift in the mindset is because the tool allows, or we have the methodology in place with the software to allow to address a use case approach. So this model consists of the repository being able to digest data from different sources, accelerating the time to build that EA baseline. This EA baseline is the root building block to allow addressing various use cases. These use cases are there about rationalization, governance, transformation, or control. The agency's EA journey had started from a low maturity and being a non-visible part of the organization into being a very influential and trusted partner to the business. They were able to make this technology support innovation in a very sustainable way. So with the use case-based approach, they were able to build their EA baseline at the EA foundation at first, which made it really into the next level of being useful and providing value to various stakeholders in the IT. Now, when they started deploying other use cases progressively, they really are in the stage of becoming or being a trusted member to the business. EA is recognized as providing a good value. EA is considered to be the source of truth for various assets in the organization. And of course, when you start addressing more and more use cases impacting the strategy of the organization, EA will become really an essential part and influential really for any kind of decision-making process in the organization. So let's see what they did to address that. Number one was having the baseline use case. So really starting from building the foundations first. And by foundations, the agency addressed first a central repository for applications, their technologies, and the business capabilities they addressed. Now, one of the key success factors there was ensuring that there is a certain mandate in place to allow users to always record the new applications, new assets in the tool. They even went one step further, and they classified some information to be mandatory to be keyed in and others to be just an optional and nice to have attributes. This also helped a lot because it allowed the application owners, for example, to focus on the key information only rather than documenting everything they know about the application. This was complemented by a governance process in place. The governance consisting of this mandatory optional information, different profiles, different interfaces, simple and more rich for different types of users, and also some workflows to govern those processes and the validation of the assets. Of course, the baseline may also need to get information from other sources. So providing that visibility was also important, where we had all the information coming from application owners or other systems, and then publishing them on a central website, a central publishing portal, where all the organization had access to it, and they were able to see the information about the IT assets and the business capabilities. So a very important point about communicating that information to a larger group of stakeholders. Having that EA baseline allowed them to address other use cases. So in the rationalization space, this agency does an IT landscape rationalization as well. First, by being able to do a health check, and that is to monitor and secure the completeness of their inventory. So the health check first consists of making sure that application owners are recording the necessary information, as I mentioned, those mandatory fields about the IT assets. And this is complemented by a monthly email notification where the portfolio managers and the EA leaders, they receive about their portfolio, and they can track the completeness of seeing the information which is missing, the attributes which are not yet filled, and they can communicate quickly with the application owners to ask them to fill those information. That part is on the data check. Another way of the landscape rationalization is on assessment. So the assessment is done on addressing the business fit and the technical fit of the application. Now, of course, this can be done in a very simple two criteria, but it can also expand to more criteria as what was done with the organization. So they're able to address a functional efficiency, functional support, technical efficiency, the business value of their assets. So not only one or two perspectives, but a little bit more, and allowing them to provide a very valuable insight to the decision makers on the IT roadmap. As you can see, a certain number of applications is listed there, and the color coding indicates that some applications are important to the business. They have to be maintained. Some others are candidates to be eliminated, replaced, freezed, renovated. So a very important way to make sure that the managers are aware of which applications can be eliminated or which applications they have to be focused on because they're important to the business. Last use case was on the anticipating the risks of technology obsolescence and also ensuring that there is a standards management in place. So that is done by addressing the technology health, just like the applications, monitoring the life cycle of the technologies, and how the end of support, the end of the extended support coming from the vendors will impact the IT landscape. Another angle to view this is how far these technologies are coming from single vendors. So the vendor dependency is also one of the important perspectives where they're able to assess the risks if most of the technologies are coming from one vendor or not. So all this information about the technology health and the vendor dependency, they are also published on the portal, which makes really easy for the IT leaders and the C-level executives to assess, to anticipate the risks and see which technologies are at risk and how this is impacting the business. The portal is really icing on the cake, where you can see that these type of dashboards were produced and the C-level executives, they were able to get the CIO dashboards and check the obsolescence, the rationalization, and also various views about how the application rationalization and the technology obsolescence is impacting the business. So in summary, the agency is able to address the different challenges in the transformation and the constant change in the industry by having this central repository in place of their IT assets and the business capabilities and other reference models. And through the enterprise portal, they were able to communicate all these changes and the risk to the C-level executives, as well as showing valuable information to the other stakeholders in the organization. Thank you very much for listening to this session. I hope that was beneficial to all. We'll see you next time in future events or webinars that we do. Thank you, everyone.